Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here this Saturday. My name is Uchoma and I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming our next speaker. So we are incredibly fortunate to have a distinguished guest who will be sharing a little bit about her work in terms of contribution to the world of filmmaking as well as screenwriting. So we have the amazing and award-winning screenwriter and filmmaker with us, Thato Mwosa. So Tato's remarkable journey in the film industry is really nothing short of inspiring. So reading up about some of the work she's done, she's really amazing. So we're really fortunate to have her here. Her first feature film, Memoirs of a Black Girl, had a notable premiere at the 2021 Boston Globe Black History Month Film Festival. So for a lot of our Boston folks who are here might have seen her amazing work. So this powerful narrative resonated a lot with the audience, and it garnered the Best Featured Film Award at both the 2021 Black Film Festival as well as the 2021 Roxbury International Film Festival. So she's done a lot of amazing things. I know we're very limited in time, so I'm gonna start with sharing all these amazing accolades. You can read up on it, really inspiring. But just to share a little bit more, so her exceptional storytelling and filmmaking skills has earned her features in various platforms, including NPR and the Boston Globe. And her film was also selected to be part of like the finalists for the 2019 Mass Cultural Art Fellowship. And beyond all these, her creative endeavors, she really makes time to educate the next generation of screenwriters. So she's a really passionate educator, and she's taught screenwriting classes at Harvard, at Boston University, as well as Lesley University. And she's currently an assistant professor of screenwriting at Emerson College in Boston. So we have the great pleasure of having Tato this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're joining from, to tell us a little bit about the transformative power of cinema and how that helps us to think through social issues. And particularly, she'll be sharing a little bit about her work on Temple, which is a film that delves into the theme of self-acceptance as well as body positivity. So at the end, so the way this is going to be framed is that she's going to share a little bit about Temple, and then we'll have a little bit of time to talk through go through some conversations of what our thoughts are, and then she can share also experience of what her journey has been with filmmaking and trying to look at the nexus of filmmaking as well as social justice. Without further ado, let's welcome Tato to go through the next workshop with us. So welcome, Tato, and take it away.
Thank you, Chioma, for the wonderful welcome. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Thanks for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. It's cloudy in Boston, and it's a good day to be inside. I will just kick it off by sharing my screen, my presentation, and just let me know if you see it.
Okay,
Can you
we
see it?
see it now. Yeah, thanks, Tato.
Okay, great. So a little bit about myself. I see it. So about this presentation, I really, when I was invited to come in here to speak to you about film, I kind of wanted to really focus on the power of film being used by beyond the entertainment, because when we think about film, we often think entertainment, but I wanted to delve into the power of film for social causes or social impact. So that's really the focus of my presentation today. So I'll begin by just talking a little bit about my film, about myself and my filmmaking. What I call a community filmmaker in such a way that I work with community organizations. Really, my work, all the films that I've done, except for my independent feature film, I often collaborate with a local nonprofit organization here in Boston, in Massachusetts. I've worked with Africans for improved access for probably close to 20 years now. They are under Multicultural AIDS Coalition. So I've done documentaries, short documentaries for them that raise awareness about HIV in the African community. I've worked with UMass Amherst to do a documentary, a couple of documentaries with them, Boston Medical Center and Brigham. And these documentaries focus on obviously like HIV, but also beyond 2020, we started focusing on COVID. I'm also a youth educator. I've worked in public schools for probably 15 years before I moved on to academia. I started at Medicine Park here in Boston. I don't know if anyone knows Boston. As a film teacher at the high school here in Roxbury. And this the experience of being a teacher in both Medicine Park and Brookline High School made me write a film, my feature film, Memoirs of a Black Girl. And really, I was inspired by my students at the time when I was writing it, my students at Medicine Park, because it's an urban school. And the perception of Medicine Park at the time, and I think it still persists up till now, was that it was a rough school, school for bad kids and all of that. So I was often kind of very defensive of my students at the time because what I knew, like the students in front of me, they worked hard. They may have come from, uh, undesirable. I don't know how to put it. They may have come from difficult places, but they really were focused. They worked hard, especially the girls that I worked with them at the time. So I actually decided to write that movie just to show that these kids are more than what people think of them. So that was my first feature that was released in 2001. And it went on to win awards, and I'm still using it because the feature film really raised awareness on certain issues that youth in urban schools, but not just urban, because when I moved to Medicine Park, I wrote this film when I was in Medicine Park. When I moved to Brookline, which is a very wealthy suburb school, I realized that the issues were the same. Right, bullying and all of that. So sometimes that my perception actually changed, and I realized that it's actually very universal. The issues that I addressed in the film were very universal, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm also a professor at Emerson College. I teach screenwriting. I'm an illustrator. I created a game called Sour African Trivia. You should check it out. It promotes positive narrative of Africa. I'm an immigrant, and I'm a mother of 3 kids, 2 teenagers and 1 preteen. And I'm a wife. I'm a dog owner to a 5-year-old dog. So that's a little bit about me. And for this presentation, I really wanted to start off with talking about the power of film. And I'm just going to touch on this briefly because I, like I said earlier, when we think about film, we think about entertainment most of the time, but film can do more, especially meaningful films that some of us do try to make, films that have social impact. Films can communicate complex ideas. They simplify things that are complex. I always say, especially for when I'm dealing with youth, because with youth, instead of reading 5 historical books on, for example, on slavery, we can watch a documentary. We can watch I'm Not Your Negro. We can watch, 12 Years a Slave. We can watch, and then in the process, you are getting educated in a different way, right? Then we can get into the actual texts and all of that. So it's a way to really communicate complex ideas. Of course, it's also educational in a way. It combines education and entertainment. Film can transport us to a time and place, just like books in a way, but you get to actually hear and see it, right? Rather than imagining it in a book. And films inspire change, they reflect society, what's going on now. So I'm curious to know the post-2020 cinema, what it looks like. And we are seeing the impact of it, with AI now being like the go-to for some filmmakers. Film has a real emotional impact with its ability to combine visuals and audio. So I think it goes beyond other artwork. I think I'm biased, but it definitely does. And it's accessible. Sometimes it's just easier. I mean, I will give an example of a film that we're going to explore a little bit, like 13th. By Ava DuVernay, the documentary. It's about incarceration in the United States. And it's, like I said, you can try to read as many articles, you can take hours and hours or days even to read books about the issue, or you can watch a 1 hour, 30 minutes documentary that kind of like combine it into really more accessible, digestible, kind of understanding. So I always feel like it's a quick way to. I'm not saying that film should be the only one to be used for education, but it's a great way to educate. You raise awareness. I like this quote by Gabe's Taurus. Film can be a beacon in identifying who and where we are, while also inspiring us to where we could be headed. So that's something to think about. So now when you talk about, let me move on. How do I, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Can you still see? So now the topic of the day is social impact in film. What is social impact in film? Social impact in the context of film refers to the measurable and meaningful influence that a film has on society. This can include raising awareness about specific social issues, changing public attitudes, behaviors, inspiring action, and contributing to positive changes within communities. Films with social impact often aim to and this is, I've addressed this, educate, inspire, shift attitudes, behaviors, got a typo there, promote policy change, and foster engagement. So now what other filmmakers use, whether they are narrative is more like fictional, but narratives can also be based on a true story, but it's still fictional. That involves actors, right? A non-narrative film, non-fiction film is documentaries. So a lot of documentaries and also narrative films often use what we call a film impact producer if they have the funding, because some filmmakers or organizations actually do their own impact campaigns. But when you make a film that is meaningful, that you are trying to highlight an issue, sometimes if you have the funding, you can hire someone who actually is experienced, someone who will help you work on kind of like implement the campaign. So an impact producer works on films that address pressing social issues, aiming to generate awareness and inspire action. They implement impact campaigns, measure social outcomes, and ensure the film remains a resource for ongoing education and advocacy, leveraging the power of storytelling to drive meaningful change. So for example, there's a film that was made in Kenya that won the best documentary in Sundance, and it's been seen. I don't know if you guys are aware of the protests in Kenya now, but this film was made a long time back, but it has inspired the youth, and we see it happening now in Kenya where the youth are out protesting the new tax increase on everything, including bread and women's sanitary products and all of that. So if you're not aware, look up Kenyan protests that are ongoing. Kids, youth are out on the streets, and some of them have been killed, shot dead by police, aggressive militarized police in Kenya. So anyway, so I wanted to highlight Miriam Ayo, who worked on the impact for Softy. Softy is a film, a documentary film that that you can access to. Actually, it's on PBS if you have not seen it, but it focuses on an activist in Kenya and his life as an activist. He's a well-known activist right now. He's out on the streets. I've been following him, document what is happening now. So she did a good job of really getting Softy out there, and it's been used, and you can see that it has, I think, it's inspiring youth to mobilize and use their voices, the power of their voices to be out in the street and demand change from the government. So as we are thinking about social film social impact, I wanted to highlight 4 films that some of you may be aware of, and I'm sure most of you have seen 13th or even Super Size Me. And these films are just a few examples of how film can really transform minds and change policies, influence policies and stuff. For example, one of my favorite is Pray the Devil Back to Hell, which is a film that was made in about the women protests in Liberia, led by Leima Gobwe, who eventually won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011, I think, for her work mobilizing women of Liberia to stop the war. The war ended in Liberia, and the film really highlights that work and has been used to really educate people on how, first of all, to involve women in kind of like in policies as you develop policies, but it's been used to show the power of mobilizing, right, across Africa and beyond the world. And the fact that the war actually was stopped, this film the global community had no idea what was happening, and also they had no idea that these women were out there for more than a year protesting on the street and pressuring politicians and also the military, the two kind of like opposing groups to find a solution, a resolution to the disagreements, and they managed to successfully do that, and they had a peace agreement because of the women, and that work is highlighted in this film. Very powerful film. Another film that I wanted to show that had a real impact is by Al Gore, the documentary An Inconvenient Truth. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's out there. This Al Gore brought global attention to climate change, and because of that, some policies were implemented because of the film. I think it came out probably about 10 years ago, if you have not seen it. Another film to highlight is 13th by Ava DuVernay, which increase awareness about the systemic racism and modern mass incarceration, especially of young people, because I think she went on to be to make another series which will talk about When They See Us, that is focused on the Central Five, the young boys that are called the Central Five. And with Netflix, she made When They See Us. And this one is a fictional story based on, I mean, it's a narrative film based on true stories. But 13th has influenced policies in terms of incarceration, and the film is still being used by policymakers, by lawyers. It's an educational school. I've used it in my classroom as well. And then Super Size Me. This actually, the filmmaker just recently died, which is unfortunate, but he made this film a long time back, and he actually used himself to kind of show how unhealthy fast foods restaurants, especially he focused on McDonald's, but it's not just McDonald's, it was Burger King. So what he did was, I think for I don't know the timeline. For 6 months, he was just eating McDonald's, and he just his health just deteriorated because of that. But it was a powerful kind of like testament to how your body, like the choices people make in terms of what they put in their bodies, and to show how it can actually you can get unhealthy eating this fast food. So what happened after that film is that I think McDonald's tried to sue him. They were not successful, but they eventually changed I mean, they still do what they do, but they have healthier options because of that film. So you can see just the power of just making a film and uh, putting it out there, and the changes that can happen. So because of that, McDonald's now have salads. They offer healthy options, not just McDonald's, other fast food restaurants. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my work. My first film, which I made when I was heavily pregnant. Sorry, I put 2025, supposed to be 2005. So I was heavily pregnant with my first child. So I made this film based on a poem that a friend of mine wrote, and the title of the poem and the title of the film was "Don't Tell Me You Love Me." And I remember reading that poem, and I asked my friend permission to kind of like use that poem to explore a storyline, which is really, truly fictional. So she allowed me to take liberty at creating a new kind of like a storyline based on the poem. And the film was released in 2025. It was used by, this film actually explores domestic violence within the African immigrant communities, and how hard it is based on language barriers, but also immigration issues, how hard it is for women to report the abuses. And it focuses on this young woman who is undocumented, and she is dealing with abuse from her husband, and she has nowhere to go really, because she's afraid that if she goes to the authorities, they will know about her immigration status. So really, the film was well received, especially by domestic violence organizations. I ended up traveling even across the country to showcase this film. It's pretty old. I made this, I'll say my son is 18. It's 18 years old. When I look at it, it's like really terrible. Like it's a cringe. But when I think about the power, like what it ended up becoming is just, it was used, like I remember even 2 years after I made the film, I was still being asked to show it and show up, and organizations were still using it. I went to Syracuse, Full House. This was a combination of some nonprofit organizations in Syracuse came together to fund the screening of the film, and I was invited. So I think about that film as one that showed me how powerful film can be. But when I made it just because I was moved by a poem, but I didn't realize that I would move people. And I know how, like every time I go to a screening, women were crying. So this is when I realized that I'm onto something, and I want to kind of make films that are meaningful, that touch people, change perceptions, educate, inspire, maybe even influence policy. And in a way, I am really inspired by Ava DuVernay because I see her as someone who's like out there really making films that matter, that should be celebrated. So, and then beyond that, I talked about my film Memoirs. This film was released in 2021. It addresses teen violence, drugs, bullying in high school. Let me minimize because I can see my and also resilience, I'm just going to minimize because I can see. Yeah. It was screened by over 20 film festivals and won multiple awards. But the most important thing, because I really made this for young people, especially my student, the most important thing is that it just aside from film festivals that the film was shown at. It was shown in high schools across in Greater Boston, Brookline High School, Newton, Westwood, Madison Park, and colleges, Northeastern, and Boston University. So I'm really proud of this little film that I always feel like, you know, we did all we can to make it happen. And in terms of funding, because it was hard to raise money, it was released a year after COVID, and we were in production during COVID, and that was really hard to try to fundraise and even get it completed, but we eventually managed. But the impact that it has, and it continues to have, because this is a film that will continue being used by high schools. In the fall, I'm going to be engaging other communities as well with the film. It was also used by Boston Police youth organizations, Boston Police Girls Group, YMCA, and Fuller Village, which is an elder home, which was an amazing screening because I always felt like when I made the film, I was targeting young people, but also, you know, educators. But the elderly community, when they invited me to bring the film, I was surprised because a lot of the pleasantly surprised because it turns out that a lot of the older people, old people in that retirement village were educators, and they were really interested in them. They asked really great questions, and they had great advice for me as well, and how I can even put it out there. And I took that advice and went on to promote the film to be shown in other high schools. So that was really a nice surprise. Because I never thought of them as a target. It was more like educators, not retirees. And it's great that retirees, because they've been there, they've seen it, and it's real for them, like what they see in the film. And they will be to give me a lot of wisdom as to where I can, what I can do with a film and how I can use it to continue raising awareness. And so that was the social impact of the film, and I continue to use it. I continue to put it out there. But the film, as fictional as it is, I was intentional in trying to kind of highlight certain issues that my students were confronting at the time. And I wanted to make sure that people were aware, and also to humanize these kids and to show that they are beyond the stereotype that people think of them. They are more than that. They are, as you know, they have aspirations to go to college and fight to get a scholarship, like my main protagonist Aisha, who was going for a top scholarship in the city at the time. I've mentored 3 kids who ended up getting a full ride. I forgot the name of the scholarship. It's like a Boston City scholarship, and all the students in BPS vied for that scholarship. And 3 of my girls actually, in over the years, they managed to get that full ride to. For some reason, Bernard is stuck in my head, but I know it's not Bernard. But it's just the scholarship that BPS gives to top performers. And my Medicine Park students, some of them ended, and they went on and they finished their 4-year degree, and they've done their masters. So for me, I wanted to show that what is happening in an urban school, beyond what we think as a society, like, because there was this perception of Medicine Park at the time. Why does it do this? And then we're going to move on to my work with collaborating with youth organizations. So because sometimes, because I really, because I've been a high school teacher for, I'll say, 15 years, uh, everything that I make is really more focused on youth. I wouldn't say that's my primary focus, but a lot of the work that I do is just youth oriented. So I make a lot of coming of age stories, but again, I try to work with community organizations and making this film. So the Mass Department of Public Health funded collaboration with Girls Inc. of the Valley, Girls Inc. of Lean, and Making Opportunity Count and Team Block. Out of this 4 collaborations, we made 4 films, and the collaborations were special in a way that the youth were involved in kind of developing the storylines, and they were also involved in the production of the films, which is really special. So for them, they got to not only use their voice, know the power of their voice, and I help kind of like, as they were bringing up ideas, I helped sort of like shape the idea. The point of the collaboration wasn't for me to come in and teach screenwriting so they can do it. It was to make a film, but to collaborate with them in making a film. For example, Desmond Emotions is showing tomorrow at the Roxbury Film Festival, is premiering tomorrow at the Roxbury Film Festival in Boston. So Desmond Emotion is a collaboration with Making Opportunity Count. And I think Making Opportunity Count is in Lean. So the youth were involved in front of the scenes. As you can see, the young men in there was part of the organization, the youth that were part of that organization, but they were also involved in the production. So all the youth that you see in the film, I think there were 4 of them that showed up in the film, were from the organization. Something to Tell You explores identity. It's about a young person who has to come out to their parents about being non-binary and using the plural pronouns. And in this short film, the parents are Afro-Latina, very conservative, very Catholic, so that they're having a hard time processing what this young person is processing what the person has just told them. And this was a collaboration with Girls Inc. of the Valley. And it came out last year. Temple, which we're going to see today, explores mental health, body positivity issue. And this was a collaboration with this was collaboration with Girls Inc. of the Valley. The other, Something to Tell You, was a collaboration between Girls Inc. of Lean. And Don't Look Away was a team block collaboration. It's about an African immigrant who has to deal with the pressure from the African parents in terms of, again, she wants to be an artist and she's not really doing well. So it touches on mental health too, just like Desmond Emotions. And I think all of them do touch on mental health, because this young people are going through pressures in different ways. So she's navigating this life with her parents who put a lot of pressure on her and compare her to some of her academically successful cousins, because they expect her to choose, anything other than art. So with this, I kind of I went in allowing the youth to really kind of identify storylines, and we spent like a week exploring different themes, because a lot of the times when I come in, I know that some of these young students will have like big ideas, and I have to like bring it down. And I was like, this is a short film. It's only going to be 10 minutes because of the funding. It's not going to be a so I think my work is just trying to like fine tune, and also being aware of what the other organizations have done. I think Temple and Desmond Emotions were the last two films that I have done, and Something to Tell You was the first one. So I have to also kind of steer them to like if they're coming up with the same theme that other organizations have addressed. My work is just to really make them think about other issues that impact them, and I always bring it down to them and just say, what is the things that you worry about, the things that you confront on a day-to-day basis. We start from there, and then they will list certain things.
Get daddy.
Yeah, and that's how the themes end up becoming. And then after that, once we identify a theme that they all agree on, we start exploring storylines, and I help them think about storylines. Then I take the concept and I write the screenplay. That's really the process. And after that, I bring them to them in a screenplay. We read it, and they give me feedback. And of course, the dialogue is always like, they always have an input in the dialogue, because I don't speak like young people. They have that way of speaking. They have a foreign language that is so opposite of me. So I allow them to really kind of like feel like they have ownership to the story. So they work on the dialogue, because I would say, well, the person is supposed to say, the food is delicious. And I don't know if any of you have teenagers. The teenager will say, that food slaps, right? So that's a way of really making it more authentic to how they speak. So I allow them to make those changes just because I know that's the way young people speak. And after they've approved the project, we then move into production, and they have to choose their roles. Some of them are not comfortable in front of the scene, and some of them want to be in front of the scene, but they're not that good. So we have to audition. So I really allow the process to be as organic as possible. So all the youth in the organization feel like they have a role in the production, whether as production assistants, sound people, because they are learning skills. And every time after that production, the kids want to continue working in film. Like I still get emails asking what jobs are out there, whether I'm casting, what I'm casting. I still get an email from the guy who acted in Don't Look Away. There's another guy who acted, and he constantly emails me to ask about roles because he got the acting bug. So it's really been wonderful working with these organizations, and I'm hoping to continue the collaboration, because I think it's just like youth being able to explore their own issues and put together a film, work in a film that highlights their issues and is somewhat educational. It's entertaining, but also educational, right? And it allows for dialogue, so we can talk about the issues that they face. So we plan to use this film. They were just recently published in the Mass Department of Public Health, so they're accessible to anyone who wants to use them, organizations. So we are going to start doing screenings in the community in the fall, because we finally just got to a place where we're able to transcribe the have like captions in English, but also captions in Spanish. So the Spanish speaking community can also access the films. So the social impact campaign will happen because what the Department of Public Health is working on is just the resources, like for each film, teaching materials, how organizations can use them, how schools can use them. So that process is right now is pending. It's ongoing, and it's not complete yet. But I will move on to, I don't know why it does this. So I'll move on to showing the film Temple, but before I play the film, do you guys have any questions? Or we can wait. I'm going to stop sharing because I have to move on to share in another window. So anyone has any questions before I
think
move on?
that we had one question in the chat. So you were sharing about your experience working with young people, and then Sheila had a question. So it says that is awesome that you take multiple. Oh no, sorry. I think Sheila, the first one is you're targeting younger people, but did you think of your younger self? Was it like an advice to your to yourself decades later? So I guess it's like, how were you able to put yourself in the shoes of those young people through the process?
Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think about that, but I think because I have teenagers, I'm always thinking about my kids. So what do I tell them about uh how am I advising them about the issues that we're addressing in the film? Desmond Emotion was quite emotional for me to write because at the time my son was going through college applications, and I was like, oh my God, is this gonna turn into reality? Because in Desmond Emotions, I'll tell you a little the synopsis. In Desmond Emotions, Desmond is going through applications. He's waiting to hear from his college, and he's never says. We meet him the day of kind of like an announcement where people are going. What is it? When you hear from colleges. So he's nervous. He starts getting texts from his friends who have gotten into the top schools, and they are excited, and he's nervous. And he finally garners the courage to open the letter from BU, and he didn't get in because that was his first. So he goes through this emotional thing, and it's hard because all his friends are celebrating. And he has to, and his best friend got in. So he thinks they got in together. His friend, he lies to his friend, and he said he got in too because he's a little ashamed. So he goes through this emotions, and that's why it's called Desmond Emotions, the ups and downs. But then the parents have to talk to him and tell him that there are plenty of other colleges out there that would love to have him. And in the end of the film, because he also had this anxiety, he was dealing with anxiety and shame and hiding from his friends, his other friend advises him to seek therapy. And that's really what the film is about. But I was thinking a lot about my son at the time, and because we were just at the beginning of the college application process, and my son has had struggles with ADHD, so I had him in mind, but also he post-COVID, he had a little bit of depression because during the lockdown he was just in the house, so we had to seek therapy for him. So I think some of this, my own personal stories, kind of seep in a little bit unconsciously and consciously. So when I make the stories, I'm right now in the process of writing, or have completed, and I'm rewriting or polishing a film set in Botswana. Is coming of age. It has had me thinking about my childhood, like what we're doing, what we're listening to, because it's set at a time when I was a teenager. And I was like, what was I like as a teen in Botswana at the time? So I think it's a fictional story, but I have to think about, transport myself to that time and think about what I was dealing with. What was I thinking about sex? Right? Because as Africans in an African society where we really, and then I remember we're reading Mills and Booms as teenagers. And I'm like, what were we doing reading Mills and Booms? But we had an obsession. Uchoma is nodding because it's a fact. Like we were, African teenagers were reading Mills and Boom. Yes. And we were 13, 14 at the time, 15, and exchanging, because it's a lot of them. So I have that scene in the film because it's just, I'm like, I have to be honest, like we were not we are not that innocent in a way. Like I have to give an authentic representation. So yes, I think about my own childhood and also kind of like navigating all the other stuff, body issues. I was really skinny. I was called all kinds of names, which is interesting. When I think about it, I was called skinny malingi, like I was made fun of just because of my body. In a way, Temple is kind of like it's about a girl who feels a little like has a healthy body, but she's been encouraged to look skinny. But I somehow the film, I think about my own, dealing with bullying and being called names for, being called a grasshopper, all kinds of names that came up when I was younger. So yes, a lot of the films I also have to think about my own personal experiences. So we will watch Temple, and please let me know because I'm gonna leave I have to leave the audio on. Mills, yes, Mills and Boone. So did I answer all the questions? And I'm gonna have a moment of Q&A at the end, but let me show Temple because I can see now the time is like running. So. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I had headphones on. Let me just switch them off. Okay.
Why is she wearing a...
I think we lost the audio. Or did you pause it?
Oh my gosh, no, not another pimple. Pimple patch over it. It'll be fine by the party next week. But no, look, it's a big red one. Damn, Rudolph, just cover it up with some makeup. Yeah, you're right. That's what my sis usually does. Oh, is she back in college? Yeah, she's here all summer. Officially here to annoy the heck out of me. Let me change into this outfit really quick. I really like this outfit. What do you think? It's nice, but you should probably shave a little belly fat first. Am I fat? I mean, you're not fat. You just want to lose some belly fat first. Look, it's fine. Just you need to learn how to like squeeze in a little bit. You want to have flat abs like mine, right? Just pull up and just squeeze in. Kim Kardashian style. I could hardly breathe like that. It's fine. Just starve yourself in the morning, do some squats, and you should be fine.
Babe, you give those Caribbean restaurants a run for their money. This jerk right here, better than anything I ever eaten.
Don't let grandma hear you say that, Dad. She'll throw a fit and disown you.
And guess what? I'll deny I ever uttered these words.
I mean, it is her recipe after all. I just added a few secret ingredients to perfect it, which none of you will see until it's on my will after I'm dead.
What? So you're not going to share it with me and Val?
No, you two might sell it to the highest bidder. You will have to sign a contract and swear under oath before you get this recipe.
Damn, Mom.
That's right.
You do not play about this chicken.
No, I don't.
Honey, aren't you gonna eat? No, I'm really full today, Mom. I'm just gonna stick with the salad.
But this is your favorite. I made it because you asked a few days ago.
I know, but I'm just really full. I'm not hungry.
Are you okay? Did anything happen at school?
No, Mom, I'm fine. Don't worry.
Hey, are you done?
Can you knock before you enter?
Good morning, honey.
Good morning.
Having sausage and eggs for breakfast.
No, I'm good. I'm just having orange.
Morning.
Morning.
Have a good day at school.
Thank you.
And then he said, "Can I borrow your pen?" He's totally into you. Really? Yeah, and he'll be at the party later. You guys, we should go to Z's ice cream parlor. I think it's about to close.
I'm not getting ice cream today.
What? But you live for Fun Day Sunday.
I know, but I'll pass this time.
Good idea. She needs to lose a few pounds to be skinny like us. What?
Yeah, Bianca's right. I'll just catch up with you guys later.
Val, have you seen my... What the hell is this?
Can you mind your business? Can you just give it back?
No, I knew something was going on with you too. You didn't eat breakfast or dinner this whole week. Do you think you need to lose weight?
Look at me. I look like a buffalo.
A buffalo, really? Who told you that? Did someone tell you that, or you just made up that narrative in your head?
No, I just need to look good for the party on Saturday.
Okay, what are you wearing?
I'll send it to you. I wanted to wear that.
So cute.
Yeah, but Bianca said, I just did a shave off a little belly fat.
She said what?
Yeah, but she's right. I searched it up on Google and it says I'm like 10 pounds overweight.
Don't be ridiculous. You are beautiful, just the way that you are. And beauty's on the inside, not on the outside.
That's not true.
Look at me. You're beautiful. You have the most beautiful eyes and skin and body. And most importantly, you have a beautiful heart.
That's so cliche. That's what mothers say to their ugly children.
Really? You don't believe me? All right, let's see what my friends have to say. See? Look, this is just public opinion. Doesn't matter what other people think about you. What matters is what you think of yourself. And that Bianca girl, she's toxic and you need to get rid of her. You need friends who are going to lift you up, not tear you down. You know what? Go on your phone and block her on all your socials. Do it now, or I'll do it for you. You don't need this. I want you to go to that party wearing that outfit and live your best life. Eat whatever you want to eat. You are perfect. You're a stunner.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
All right, I'm looking at the time. That's the film, and I guess we can just open it up to Q&A because I know we have until 1 o'clock, so I'm not sure how much time we can have for this.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Tato. Yeah, absolutely. Very powerful. So a lot of commendations in the comment section. So maybe we can take one question if there's any burning question from the team or from the audience, and then we can let you wrap it up if you have like any final words for us, because we're at the top of the hour. Actually, now 1 minute over. But very beautiful and very powerful. It's like it tells a story in a very succinct way. It's like short. I wasn't sure how long it was going to be, but by the time, and I was like, wow, we could get the whole story in just a very short period. So thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, I will take one question. I'm trying to get to, for some reason, I can't see the chat.
I'm monitoring the chat, and right now, what we see, love it. So powerful. Thank you for sharing. Great movie, powerful movie. And then from Dr. Julia, if you could leave a word for us interested in public health, what would you leave? So how might we use films to tell the story of public health?
Yeah, like I said, I collaborate with health organizations, and I think and I'll do this last slide to answer your question, because I did have like a slide to address how organizations can use a film. So let me just so a lot of organizations that I work with have recognized the power of film in terms of spreading awareness and how accessible it can be. So for the most part, my advice is figure out what the themes are, the issues that your organization, especially in public health, and try to collaborate with filmmakers and also impact producers if you have that funding. The film can also be used for fundraising purposes. Short films like this are great for galas. You know, when you're fundraising, you are able to show in a visual way the work that your organization is doing and how it's impacting it's impacting the community. So, for example, I'll give an example of a recent film that I did with BMC that highlighted that program, the social program. In that film, what we did was instead of just kind of doing a film where I get to interview the administrators of the program and also the doctors, what I did was I had to go for the emotional impact, because that's what really film is. Then we identified people that use that program, that program has helped. So I went to someone's home, she's an African woman, and I spent the day with her kids, cooking, and filming all of that, and that turned into a 5 minutes documentary showcasing how that particular program has impacted her life and how her life has transformed. So this is really one way, especially in public health. So I do work with public health. If you want to have a follow-up conversation with me, let me know, because I work with organizations that are in public health space.
Lovely. So thank you so much, Thato. We really appreciate you. And it's really lovely to see the intersection of film and public health and how we could use film for public impact. And really love your approach of engaging young people as well as the community. So something for us to take away as we think about creative ways to do public health work for social justice, or even engaging the community in general. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And for the audience, thank you so much for your time and being here. I know that the next session has already started, so sorry for keeping you all longer, but this was an amazing short film. We needed to see it. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. And I'll send a link. And if anyone wants to talk to me further, please feel free to email me. You can share my email with the participants. I would love to have continued conversation for anyone who wants to continue that. I'm sorry, the time is short and we need to move on, but thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks, Thato.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.